This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump praises the first month of the Trump administration.
If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt.
I'm Rich Johnson.
More work to do on Capitol Hill surrounding the budget.
Well, we are going to deliver the America First agenda.
I'm Clayton Neville.
There's been an abrupt cancellation of a planned meeting of the top American and European diplomats. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Another near miss at one of our nation's airports. The second in just 2 days. Julie Walker has details.
Alexa, make us some money. That's the command Amazon has given its popular digital assistant with a new enhanced version incorporating AI technology. I'm Peter Schacknow.
Apple says it is fixing a bug within its dictation feature on some iPhones involving the word racist. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump holds his first cabinet meeting of his second term in office, which included top advisor Elon Musk, discussions of Department of Government efficiency, tariffs, and Ukraine. Rich Johnson has a recap.
The president told reporters he's put together a great cabinet that's off to a great start.
He's been given a lot of credit for having a very successful first month, and we want to make that many months and years, actually.
Only a couple of cabinet members spoke during the time with reporters. The key co-star of that pre-meeting time was once again Elon Musk, explaining his work with the Department of Government efficiency.
The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country a $2 trillion deficit.
Standing at the end of the big conference table in the crowded cabinet room, Musk repeated his warning about the interest on the national debt exceeding the entire budget of the Defense Department.
If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing.
When it comes to Musk's email demanding that federal workers explain what they've accomplished, Trump said those who have failed to respond are on the firing bubble. A reporter's question asking if Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security will be subject to huge budget cuts brought this quick response.
We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on.
And he offered up what he said was a prime example of that alleged fraud.
People that are 200 years old that are being sent checks for Social Security.
But Social Security has for years automatically stopped sending payments to people aged 115 and older. Trump also confirmed that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be at the White House Friday to sign a new agreement dealing with the essential but scarce elements known as rare earths. And when it comes to diplomacy, Vice President J.D. Vance took a shot at reporters.
Every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief.
And if any cabinet member, as some reports claimed, may be unhappy with President Trump's top de facto advisor in this first month, they received a blunt reminder of that man's present status.
Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw him out of here.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Despite a razor-thin margin, Republicans are celebrating the passage of a budget resolution in the House. The finish line isn't as close as it may seem, however, as the Senate GOP is showing skepticism that this particular blueprint could pass without changes. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The budget blueprint that passed the House late Tuesday night is not the actual budget. Instead, it's a blueprint that outlines proposed spending and cuts that eventually would be taken up in committee.
This is the first important step in opening up the reconciliation process.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, after the 217 to 215 vote in favor of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill.
We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are going to deliver the America First agenda. We're going to deliver all of it, not just parts of it, and this was the first step in that process.
Republicans say the proposals would cut taxes, boost military spending, also address energy and immigration policy. They say it would raise the debt ceiling. And Kentucky Republican Representative Thomas Massie was the only member of the GOP to vote no on the measure. He pointed to concerns surrounding its effect on the federal deficit and national debt. Congressman Andy Barr told Fox News that he disagrees with his colleague.
The budget resolution is deficit reduction, both because it cuts spending, but also because it unleashes massive economic growth, which is critical to get our debt under control.
President Trump was asked by reporters about accusations that cuts will be made to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security under the measure.
We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others.
Concerns from Democrats are about steep cuts to mandatory spending. Both chambers will have to adopt the same budget resolution to move forward. The measure now heads to the Senate. I'm Clayton Neville.
Airport incident, another near miss when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues with a check of the nation's weather, beginning in the east. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy has the forecast.
A storm in western New York to start the day will continue to move through the state and into New England. This will have varied precipitation with rain along and just north of the associated warm front from southern New York into southern New England first thing this morning. And then we'll have a little bit of snow mixing in farther north into central New England with all snow over northern New York into northern New England. And there could be several inches of snow possible in these northern areas with as much as 6 inches near the Canadian border. The cold front to the south will also cause showers through the middle Atlantic. The best chance will be in the morning. And then farther south from that, thunderstorms will form this afternoon from the eastern Carolinas into Georgia and northern Florida. South of that boundary, the rest of Florida will be warmer with highs in the upper 70s and 80s. Meanwhile, colder air will also be returning to the rest of the Great Lakes behind this storm, and we'll see snow showers forming across the northern parts of Wisconsin into northern Michigan, as well as colder air building farther south and becoming increasingly mixed with snow through southern Wisconsin into Michigan, northern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. This colder air will lead to afternoon temperatures near historical average, which is also going to extend into the Ohio Valley. And temperatures along the Gulf Coast will also have temperatures closer to average, but the rest of the nation will largely enjoy above average warmth. This warmer weather will be most notable in the Plain States, especially across the north, where highs in the 50s and 60s will be 20 to 30 degrees above the historical average, even 10 to 20 degrees above average farther south. That's the weather across America. It's going to be a mild day in Wichita, Kansas today with sunshine and a high of 64. Grand Rapids, Michigan will be a little bit chillier with some rain and snow showers and a high of 38. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. As British Prime Minister Kier Starmer will be at the White House today, talks between the top American and European Union diplomats who were to gather to discuss Ukraine and possible tariffs was abruptly canceled. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas was to meet with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, but it was called off due to what both sides called scheduling issues, though European officials were caught off guard, and Kallas's office referred all questions to the State Department. The cancellation comes amid growing tensions between the U.S. and Europe, where Kallas just 2 days ago noted shifting American rhetoric.
The Russian narrative is there very strongly represented.
President Trump has thrown the transatlantic partnership into turmoil with tariff threats, among other things.
The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it.
Top Trump administration officials have also warned Europe to start taking responsibility for its own security. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
For the second time in 2 days, a plane seconds from landing had to quickly abort touching down to avoid a potential collision on the ground. As Julie Walker reports, this near catastrophe happened at the same airport where a plane and helicopter collided last month with deadly results.
An American Airlines plane arriving at Reagan Airport in Washington Tuesday discontinues its landing to avoid a departing plane, according to the FAA. Here's air traffic control from liveatc.net.
The American 2246 just go around, turn right, heading up 250, climb maintain 3000.
This came the same morning a Southwest plane at Midway Airport in Chicago had to abort a landing in a near miss with a FlexJet crossing an active runway after being told to hold.
Flight 560, your instructions are to hold short of runway 31 center.
Again, audio from live ATC. In January, one of the nation's worst air disasters, an Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with an American Airlines flight above Reagan Airport, killing all 67 aboard both aircraft. I'm Julie Walker.
Meet the new assistant, same as the old assistant, Alexa, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. In for Jessica Ettinger, CNBC's Peter Schacknow.
Amazon's Alexa was one of the pioneers in the digital assistant market, but it's been lagging behind as artificial intelligence applications like ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude came to prominence. Amazon is hoping that will change with the introduction of Alexa Plus, which will incorporate AI features and vastly expand the device's capabilities. And perhaps more importantly for Amazon, help it make money after it spent billions over the years on Alexa's development. CNBC's Kate Rooney says, ironically, one of the challenges for Amazon will be to keep the simpler Alexa tasks in place that users like so much.
They have to prove that they can kind of strike this balance where Alexa is much smarter. You think if you've ever used voice mode for ChatGPT or any of these, it's kind of got to be able to do that. Have this back and forth conversation, be a lot smarter, but also not mess up the blocking and tackling of being able to set the kitchen timer. I think a lot of people are happy with Alexa, use it frequently, and they don't want it to kind of get in the way of the easy stuff.
Alexa Plus will be free for Prime members, but will cost $19.99 a month for non-subscribers. AI was a key driver in the latest quarterly results from NVIDIA, which reported better than expected earnings following Wednesday's closing bell. That will undoubtedly have an impact on today's stock market action. The market has been struggling recently with all the major averages lower for February. But Monica DiCenzo, head of the Global Investment Opportunities Group at JP Morgan Securities, says it's not quite time to give up on stocks just yet.
You never want to completely, obviously, sell down and de-risk your entire portfolio. If you did that during COVID, for example, you saw how quickly things can turn around. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have some portfolio protection on. Many clients I work with still don't own enough fixed income because for so long it didn't make sense. Even though we're worried about inflation, fixed income still makes sense in a portfolio now. Rates are higher.
One stock that's been struggling as of late is Tesla, down 5 straight days and 6 of the past 8. One issue, according to BofA securities analyst John Murphy, is product related.
When we look at sort of the fundamentals of the company, it's got product that is pretty old at this point. When you look at the 3 and the Y, the 3 is 8 years old, the Y is 5 years old. You think of standard, product cycles in the traditional industry, they're 5 to 6 years. So these things are these things are very old. And when you look at sort of the Chinese competition, they're 2 to 3 year cycles. So I think there's a real issue with the product cadence, and we need a lot of new product to come, which is supposedly around the corner.
With concerns about the U.S. economy increasing, investors will keep an eye on a flood of data in the day ahead, including the latest on first-time jobless claims, durable goods orders, and pending home sales, as well as the second estimate of fourth quarter GDP. And we'll see just how much inflation is impacting food companies and the consumers that buy from them, as the latest earnings from J.M. Smucker, Hormel Foods, and Papa John's are released before the opening bell.
Thank you, Peter. Peter Schacknow, CNBC. The Trump-Apple iPhone controversy when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. It was a day that people in New York City will never forget, and a wake-up call for the defense of the nation when Islamic extremists detonated a van full of explosives inside the parking garage of the World Trade Center. Lisa Dwyer looks back at the day and the remembrance ceremony held yesterday.
New York City has marked the anniversary of the 1993 bombing at the old World Trade Center, when Islamic extremists made their first attempt at bringing down the Twin Towers. A bell tolled at 12:18 p.m. to mark the time of the attack. 6 people, including a pregnant woman, died in the February 26th blast. The grandchildren of Stephen Knapp read the names of the deceased.
John D. Giovanni, Robert Kirkpatrick, and our grandfather, Stephen A. Knapp.
William Macco, Wilfredo Mercado, and Monica Rodriguez Smith, and her unborn child, baby Eddie.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Apple is admitting it is fixing what's been described as a technical glitch on their iPhones. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the voice recognition controversy that types the word Trump instead of racist.
Apple says it is fixing a bug within its dictation feature on some iPhones involving the word racist. The feature briefly suggests the word Trump when a word is spoken with the R consonant. That includes the word racist. Some iPhone owners posted videos pointing out the glitch. It shows the word Trump appears quickly in the text window before being replaced by the word that was actually spoken. Apple says the speech recognition models that power the voice-to-text feature might show words in some phonetic overlap. A day after it emerged, the AP could not duplicate the problem on the phone. Apple says it is aware of the issue and is rolling out a fix. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Thursday, February 27th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The Trump administration sets the stage for large layoffs.
Cutting down the size of government.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
President Trump to meet with the president of Ukraine. I'm Clayton Neville.
The new U.S. Attorney General may be suing defiant states that don't follow new legislation. I'm Katie Clark with details.
Egg prices continue to scramble records, and the Supreme Court delays an order against the Trump administration, plus the latest on James Bond's future.
The first measles death has been reported from an outbreak in West Texas. I'm Ed Donahue.
NVIDIA AI still beats all expectations. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Back after these messages. The Thursday forecast on America in the Morning. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy. What do we have?
We do have some colder air returning to the Great Lakes behind a storm system moving eastward, and we'll have some snow showers forming across northern Wisconsin and northern Michigan as that colder air builds southward. And then rain will become increasingly mixed with snow through southern Wisconsin and Michigan, and eventually reaching into northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and Ohio. This colder air will lead to afternoon temperatures near the historical average, which is also going to extend into the Ohio Valley. And temperatures along the Gulf Coast will also have temperatures closer to average, but the rest of the nation is going to largely enjoy above average warmth. This warmer weather will be most notable in the Plains states, especially across the north, where highs in the 50s and 60s will be 20 to 30 degrees above the historical average. Even farther south in Nebraska, with highs in the 60s to near 70, it's still going to be 10 to 20 degrees above average. And as we move out west, there will also be some sunshine, though some high clouds will be building in from a system offshore. And temperatures here will also average 5 to 15 degrees above average, with 50s and 60s in the north and warming to the 80s farther south. Now, we do have a storm moving through western New York to start the day, and then we'll continue that storm moving eastward into New England. This will have varied precipitation with it, with rain along and just north of the warm front from southern New York into southern New England. That'll be first thing this morning, and there'll be a little bit of snow mixing in farther north through central New England, and all snow through northern New York into northern New England. Several inches of snow will be possible on the northern side of this system, with 6 inches toward the Canadian border. Farther south, that cold front is going to cause some showers in the middle Atlantic, especially during the morning hours, and then we'll have thunderstorms forming south of that into the eastern Carolinas, into Georgia, and northern Florida. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. President Trump held his first cabinet meeting that included Elon Musk. All of the cabinet members, along with Trump, defended the Department of Government Efficiency, the agency known as DOGE that Musk described as tech support, and also highlighted Ukraine, tariffs, and immigration. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports there will be more government worker cuts coming, with a memo sent to a number of federal agencies preparing them for expected large-scale layoffs.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
Elon Musk took a star turn at the first cabinet meeting of President Trump's second term, holding court about his DOGE effort to slash federal spending. The president's rarely one to share the spotlight.
I'd like to have Elon Musk please say a few words.
But appeared happy to have Musk speak first. The world's richest man was wearing a T-shirt that said tech support.
We are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true.
The Trump administration has told federal agencies to develop plans for eliminating more positions. That sets the stage for large layoffs and what could become a sweeping government realignment. During a cabinet meeting,
we're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy. We have a lot of people that aren't doing their job. We have a lot of people that don't exist.
The president spoke after a memo was sent to agencies telling them to submit plans by March 13th to not only lay off workers, but eliminate their jobs entirely.
It's not an optional thing. It is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. And taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I'd like to stack them up, you know.
Trump advisor Elon Musk spoke at the cabinet meeting, saying the nation will go bankrupt without slashing spending. One lawyer who represents federal workers says the administration's plan would instead cripple government functions.
There's a large group of people in this country that have such admiration for what we're doing. I got elected with a tremendous vote. Winning every swing state, winning the popular vote. And so we have a mandate to do this, and this is part of the reason I got elected. I got elected based on taxes and based on many things in the border, but also based on balancing budgets and getting our country back into shape, and this is a big part of it.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Friday is expected to be a big day in Washington as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky will travel to the White House, where he and President Trump are expected to put pen to paper on a massive mineral deal. Correspondent Clayton Neville has a preview of a meeting which could help lead to an end of Ukraine's war with Russia.
President Trump says he'll meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to sign an agreement amid negotiations to end the Russian invasion that began 3 years ago.
The deal we're making gets us, it brings us great wealth. We get back the money that we spent, and we hope that we're going to be able to settle this up.
Trump's proposed deal would share revenue from Ukraine's rare earth mineral deposits, Ukraine asking for security guarantees after the war with Russia is over. But Trump did make clear that security obligations would fall on Europe.
I'm not going to make security guarantees beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that because it's in, we're talking about Europe as their next door neighbor.
The president painting his plan as a way the U.S. can get back some of the $120 billion in aid that it's sent to Ukraine since the war started. President Zelensky has called the proposal a beginning and says he'll know more after this week's meeting with President Trump. I'm Clayton Neville.
In one of his first days in office, President Trump signed an executive order banning transgender athletes from competing in girls' and women's sports. Despite the order, the Attorney General of Minnesota says he will not comply. However, as Katie Clark reports, Attorney General Pam Bondi is putting Minnesota on notice, saying ignoring the ban will come with consequences.
In his first couple days in office, Trump followed through on a campaign promise. He signed into legislation a ban on female transgender athletes competing in women's sports. The executive order is called Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports and is designed to prevent a person born a man who has transitioned to female from competing against those athletes who were born female. In the executive order, it allows the Department of Education to penalize schools that don't follow the order and to possibly lose federal funding. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison spoke on X about his feelings on following Trump dictates.
It's not the job of local law enforcement to carry out the dictates of the Trump administration. Let me just say that I have no fear of the Trump administration, absolutely not. And we're going to devote the resources of our state to our state business. And of course, we're not going to interfere with their business, but we're not going to do their bidding because it's not our job.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has warned states that don't comply to prepare for lawsuits. I'm Katie Clark.
Maine Governor Janet Mills is moving toward openly defying Trump's transgender ban. President Trump has threatened to yank Maine's federal funding if Mills and the state legislature do not follow his executive order, which led to a heated exchange between the two at the recent National Governors Association gathering. When we continue, a report on the unsunny side of this breakfast staple. Chuck Palm has tech news, Robert Workman sports, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. I'm John Trout. We've never dealt with sticker shock on eggs like we've seen in the past few months, and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says prices are expected to go even higher, likely beyond $10 a dozen in some states. More on the story from Lisa Dwyer.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says that the USDA will invest another $1 billion on top of the roughly $2 billion it has already spent battling bird flu since the current outbreak began in 2022.
We're looking to import eggs in the short term. This is just on the cost piece. We're already in discussions. There's been, if you dig around, you'll kind of figure out which countries, but we're talking to 3 or 4 countries right now about getting between 70 and 100 million eggs into the country in the next month or two, which of course will help with supply and demand.
That announcement comes as the Agriculture Department predicts that the current record prices for eggs could soar another 40% this year.
It's going to take a little while to get through, I think, the next month or two, but hopefully by summer. So several months. Yeah, several months.
Farmers and egg producers have already been working since the 2015 bird flu outbreak by taking measures like requiring workers to change clothes and shower before entering barns. The challenge is that the virus is spread easily by wild birds as they migrate past farms. Millions of birds have been slaughtered. Last month was the worst yet for egg farmers, with nearly 19 million egg-laying chickens slaughtered. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Facing a midnight deadline, the U.S. Supreme Court granted the Trump administration's request to pause a lower court's ruling for the government to resume nearly $2 billion in foreign aid payments suspended for weeks. Chief Justice John Roberts granted the order to delay, which now allows time for a full Supreme Court review. A federal judge had given the administration until 11:59 p.m. to fulfill its contractual obligations and restart the payments to organizations who purportedly supply aid for various projects, which had been halted by the president last month. This request to the Supreme Court marked the second time the new administration has asked the justices to intervene after a lower court judge blocked Trump's efforts to reshape the federal government. Shifting gears, UK Prime Minister Kier Starmer is in Washington to meet with President Trump, a huddle aimed at persuading the president to maintain military support for Ukraine. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Ukraine and its European allies have been scrambling to respond after the Donald Trump administration engaged directly with Moscow. Keir Starmer's told lawmakers Kyiv must be at the table for any negotiations.
This is about the sovereignty of Ukraine and their ability to decide for themselves the future of their country.
He adds that the UK is ready to play a role in providing security guarantees to Ukraine, but reiterates the plan would require US backing.
It's vital that we continue in that role, and that's why my message to President Trump is that the relationship between our two countries needs to go from strength to strength. It's all very strong, but also working at the same time with our European allies.
Britain's leader echoed earlier prime ministers in emphasising the special relationship.
I want to strengthen our already strong relationship with the US, because I think it's vital that we do so.
Starmer's due to meet Trump at the White House on Thursday. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
New concerns in Texas after a child has died from the measles and more than 120 cases were reported in an outbreak. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Texas Tech University Health Science Center says a patient died overnight. No age was given. The measles outbreak in rural West Texas has grown to 124 cases across 9 counties. It's largely spread in the Mennonite community, in an area where small towns are separated by vast stretches of oil rig dotted open land. Data in Texas shows a vast majority of measles cases are people younger than 18. There are also 9 cases in eastern New Mexico. Measles is a respiratory virus. Most kids will recover if they get it, but infection can lead to dangerous complications like pneumonia, blindness, brain swelling, and death. I'm Ed Donahue.
NVIDIA, originally known for its graphics chips, shifted into making AI processors and has beat all expectations in their fourth quarter earnings. As the demand for AI continues to rapidly expand, here's Chuck Palm with details in today's tech news.
AI chip maker NVIDIA posts higher than expected revenue with a 14% increase from prior quarter's earnings at 82% rise from the year previous. NVIDIA has now beaten every estimation in the past 4 quarters, and its data center unit, its largest business segment, reached $35.6 billion, climbing 16% from the previous quarter. CEO Jensen Huang said in a statement, the demand for the Blackwell AI chip is extraordinary as businesses seek greater AI reasoning and processing capabilities. The AI chip maker's revenue has doubled to more than $130.5 billion in the last fiscal year, meaning the demand for AI chips is still a hot commodity. Ethereum down to 2,300, Bitcoin posting a 90-day low at 85,000. Find me on X at Chuck Palm.
Thursday Sports on America in the Morning. Here's Robert Workman.
After years of criticism of NFL officials regarding ball placement at key times in games, the league plans to go to the eye in the sky. 6 tracking cameras will be installed in every NFL stadium this offseason to assist in assessing line-to-gain measurements. The league will also add a dozen fixed cameras along sidelines, goal lines, and end lines to give officials additional angles for replays. Troy Vincent, the NFL's executive VP of football ops, says that with these enhancements, the league's competition committee will then consider expanding the number of plays that replay assist will cover. That panel meets next month before the league meetings where rule changes can be approved. The tech bros, though, can put the cameras in right away without further approval. NBA on Wednesday, the Thunder ripped the Nets 129-121. Pistons pounded the Celtics 117-97 for their 8th straight win. Coach J.B. Bickerstaff.
Not looking past tonight, or what we've done in the past. The only thing that we're focusing on is every single night trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And tonight, I think we're pretty close.
Boston had won its last 6 in a row. Knicks got by the Sixers. Philadelphia's 9th consecutive loss, 34 for Jalen Brunson. Pacers, Clippers, Heat, Rockets, Blazers, and Kings win. College hoops number 1 Auburn rolled over Mississippi 106-76. 7th-ranked St. John's beat Butler to give the Johnnies a share of the Big East title for the first time in 33 years. And number 8 Michigan State got a half-court buzzer beater from Trey Holloman to win at number 16 Maryland. NHL, the league-leading Jets won their 11th straight 4-1 over the Senators. Avalanche drilled the Devils, and the Canucks clipped the Kings in overtime. And in soccer, Japan defeated the U.S. 2-1 in San Diego to capture the She Believes Cup, ending the host's 6-year title run and handing new U.S. boss Emma Hayes her first loss in 18 matches since taking over the team last year. That's Thursday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. James Bond's future and some real hero cops when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The future of James Bond is in the hands of Amazon, which now has distribution rights to the longtime franchise. Kevin Carr has details.
It's been a week since Amazon announced its takeover of the James Bond franchise, so what are the reactions?
Bond. James Bond. My name is Bond. James Bond. Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Based on the novels by Ian Fleming, James Bond made his theatrical debut in 1962 with Dr. No. 25 films later, it's one of the most successful franchises in history. Some say its quality is the result of the Broccoli's family control. For example, about 5 years ago, Christopher Nolan wanted to direct a Bond film, but Barbara Broccoli would not grant him final cut. Now that obstacle is gone. This week, James Bond star Daniel Craig offered a statement of support. However, Timothy Dalton, who starred in 2 movies in the 80s, called the transition, quote, sad. Fans have expressed concern that Amazon's business model will dilute the franchise. Already this week, the Daily Mail published an unconfirmed report that Florence Pugh would star in a Moneypenny TV series. Originated by Lois Maxwell in 1962, Moneypenny is as iconic as Bond himself.
You never take me to dinner looking like this, James. You never take me to dinner, period.
Most recently, Naomi Harris played the role and had action scenes with co-star Daniel Craig.
Oh, my name's Eve Moneypenny.
The deal is pending, but is expected to close this year. After that, the sky falls the limit. I'm Kevin Carr.
2 New York City police officers are being hailed as heroes for saving a man who fell through the ice in a pond in Brooklyn, while fire crews saved a man and his horse from a lake upstate. Correspondent Julie Walker has details on the 2 separate dramatic ice rescues.
Keep coming. NYPD officers had to pull a man out of the semi-frozen lake in Brooklyn's Prospect Park by extending a ladder across it. I got you. The late-night rescue caught on body cam. Police say the 30-year-old had been walking on the frozen water when it gave way. Upstate in Saratoga Springs on Monday.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sly, a horse, fell through the ice in a pond. It took police and several others to pull the 1,300-pound animal out. Not easy.
Come on. Oh, but I can't feel anything. Come on. I know. I can't feel anything.
Come on, I got you.
He was in the water for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Again, caught on police body cam. Sly's owner, Allie Ernst, says her 3 horses always play on the pond. Julie Walker, New York.
America in the Morning for Thursday, February 27th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.